This video covers AWR customization options. As shown here in the design notes, we're going to cover expanding the workspace, changing default colors, and using and adding keyboard shortcuts. So we'll start with number one, expanding the workspace. When you install AWR, it looks just like this. On the left is a panel, the project panel. And there's three tabs at the bottom: Project, Elements, and Layout. We'll go back to Project. There's also a panel at the bottom, Status window. And this covers error messages, warnings, general information. And then the gray space is your available workspace. All the windows you develop will fit in this gray space. So it would definitely be a benefit to make the gray space larger. And the way to do that is to click the Auto Hide Pin button on Status window and the Project tab. Notice that the three tabs moved from the lower left to the upper left, and you just move your mouse over one of them and they open up. Move off it and they close, and you can see almost the entire screen is now the gray space or your workspace. So your windows will now take up a much larger space, and they'll either be larger or you can fit more, whatever works for you. But this is by far a better way to use the program. And this is something that only needs to be done once. You don't have to do this every time you start the program. It'll stay this way until you decide to change it. So this is how to improve your workspace. The second option that we are going to talk about is changing default colors. And this is quite simple. When you do something like create a new schematic, add schematic, create, you can see that the default color is white with a black grid. And the same thing applies for VSS system diagrams, new diagram, white, global definitions, white, all the same, white background and a black grid. What you want to be able to do is adjust it by going into Options, Environment Options, and the default tab is Project, but you want to click on Colors. And then, for example, if I choose the schematic background, I could select any of these colors, except these are too bright for me. I want a paler yellow color. So the way I would do that is define custom colors, and the color I want is this: 255 red, 255 green, 224 blue, and this is the color. So I'll say OK, and I'm going to do the same thing to the grid. Custom, and this should be 255, and tab will go to the next value, 255, tab, and just shift tab goes backwards. So 224, OK. And now when I say OK, you can see that my choice for the schematic color is a pale yellow. The grid is the same color, so it doesn't appear to be there. And this is how I customize my colors. And the easiest way to show my standard setup, this is kind of a special project because I've set everything back to its default, but my desired color are here. If I create a schematic, as we saw, it's yellow. If I create a system diagram, It's going to be a light blue. We look at the global definitions window. This is going to be a light magenta. And if I have an output equations window, this is going to be a light green. So these are my customizations. You can do whatever you like, but if you want to deal with the colors for the various windows, options, environment options, colors. And here you can see my settings. Light yellow for the background and grid schematic, light blue for system diagrams, output equations green, global definitions magenta. I've also changed some of these colors that we'll talk about in a different video. And again, this is something you just have to do once and it becomes your standard colors. Okay, we will close these. And the final topic that we are going to talk about is keyboard hotkeys. And the easiest way to explain what that is and how it works, I have created a very simple schematic. Let's delete the things I just created. So schematic 1 was already created, and it's a simple capacitor with 2 ports. And I also have a graph set up. And if we tile these windows, you can see them both. They've been simulated, but the point is, I'm going to change something. So you can see this now became dim. And we want to talk about running the analysis. Now, the basic way to do that would be simulate, analyze. But you can see there's also a toolbar button. It's the lightning bolt right here, analyze. And there's also a built-in hotkey, F8. Now, this is a default hotkey, but the point is that I can also create many custom hotkeys, and I have many, many of those. Now, just to give you an idea of the kinds of things you can do, when I place this capacitor, let me delete it. I went to Elements, Lumped Elements, Capacitor. This is the device that I want. And if I simply drag the name into the schematic, then that's how I would place it. But, of course, to do that, I have to go and navigate the upper area, which is the organization of all the elements that can go into a schematic. Then I go to capacitor, and the element that I'm actually going to place will be in the lower section. Well, if I have a hotkey, then I can simply say what I have set up for myself is Shift-C, and that puts a capacitor in place. So the question is, how did I do that? And it's very simple. On the Tools menu, Hotkeys. And you can see there are many hotkeys defined. Notice this is the one that we just looked at that is default. Simulate, Analyze, F8. And then there's also many component short keys. You know, we just did a add lumped element capacitor, Shift-C. You can see I've got an inductor, Shift-L, resistor, Shift-R, microstrip elements, etc. So the point is that virtually anything you want to achieve, if you can find it here under categories, and these are very, very different. Circuit elements, this covers every type of element that's available. You can see it's a very long list. So anything that's available can be chosen here and a hotkey can be defined. There's also many other categories here: tools, window issues, your view. Here's another thing that I've defined. If we have our windows like this and I want to organize them, then I did window tile vertical, but you can see that I have also defined a hotkey, V. So if I just type V, it automatically fills the workspace with all the open windows. And if I hit F8, you can see that the analysis has been redone. So that's the point of shortcuts or hotkeys, whatever you want to call it. And again, the way it's set up is tools, hotkeys, and then you would choose what you're going to do. Let's say let's see, we go to edit and edit cut. I'm not going to actually design this, but I would select the function that I want to define with a hotkey, and then simply go to this window, and let's say this will be Shift Control C. So I press the keys that I want to define, and then I would say assign. And that is the way you would set up your customizations. For more tutorials, visit us at resources.ema-eda.com, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.